All right. So, did you guys experience anything while you were engaging that you'd like to share?
At the back of the classroom, there was an angel standing in very casual clothes with his back against the wall. You know, like when you're in a club and there's this guy at the back of the club and he's just arms folded with his like this, like very casual. But he was chewing gum and he was looking like at his watch. So I'm saying, Lord, why is he at the back of the classroom? What's his name? The Lord said his name is Horace. Horace, Horace. And it's like, and he said, like, um, he's here because he's in charge of time and he's here to redeem the time. So I'm saying, like, what time is he here to redeem? And he said, the time that we have wasted or the time that we have lost through sickness and illness.
Ooh, that's nice.
And we should ask for 7 times that which we have lost. I said, but how are we going to get that back, Lord? And he said, he's here to help us get it back through play, fun, it being, and we need to be childlike. Then I kept looking at him, and suddenly it's like each and every one of us have got a Horace next to us. And then the Lord says, oh, he's not here to redeem time in terms of that's his name, the Redeemer of time. He is a coach, and he's going to help us to get back what we have lost through sicknesses and health and ill health. Then,
Yay.
just before you ask us to come back, I looked up the meaning of Horace. And this is what Horace it says. The name Horace is Latin origin meaning timekeeper
Ha, that's fun.
or hour in time.
How cool. That's fun. I love it. Only the
So we've
Lord.
all got someone to help us redeem whatever we have lost through ill health.
That's so
And we're allowed to claim it back 7 times in strength. And we should do it in a childlike way through play, through fun, etc. But he will show us and he will teach us. So, girls, call on your coach, Horace, to help you.
that's awesome. That's cool. That's a whole nother way that we can use, we talked about last week, engaging angels to help us and all of that in our healing and all these things. But that's a whole nother way we can do that. That's awesome. Thanks, Pearl. Cool. Anyone have anything else you'd like to share from our engaging time? Okay. Oh, Amanda.
I didn't have anything. I went in the classroom and fell asleep. So I didn't have anything.
Okay, that's fine. You unmuted and I was like, oh, Amanda, she's gonna talk. Uh, hmm. Well, the Lord was just reminding me of some different things, of course. This is always what happens to me. I start engaging and then he starts giving me downloads for teaching stuff. So um yeah, that's just all the stuff that I was getting. So you'll get the whole and full revelation soon, I'm sure. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I see a couple more people joined us. Um, so I would like you guys to think about this last week. Did you guys engage any angels more than you have before? Nope. Anyone? All right, people, get on it. Okay. um, No, I think this is important. And so I hope you guys are at least attempting, even if you aren't doing it. If it's something that you are attempting, I appreciate that. If you forgot about it, this is your kind reminder to remember to engage your angels for healing. Because if you aren't actively pursuing it, it won't happen. Okay. And so in this class, I'm not giving you homework questions and all of that, but I do want you to focus on whatever we're talking about. Okay. Use that as something to focus on your healing. Because if you get a whole lot of information, but it doesn't get applied to your life, it's worthless. And so I don't want this to be worthless. I want this to be valuable, something that moves you to your next level and really makes you move forward in your relationship with the Lord and in your healing and in helping healing others, of course. Pearl, did you have a chance to think on, is there anything you would like to ask about?
So this week, the Lord has been showing me a lot of different things. And I would like to ask about getting help for dream interpretation, because I've been having a lot of dreams and visions. This morning, I had one encounter, one dream. One of the dreams is where I am pulling this tapeworm out of my leg, my right leg, and grossed out by it, was very affected, looked at my other leg, and I could see the tapeworms moving under the surface of my skin, my leg. I have a sense that is one of the gifts God has given me, because I have always been a dreamer, but because I've had no one to teach me how to interpret dreams and what to do with them, I get them a lot, and sometimes I don't even write them down because it's like, what's the point? But I know there is a point. But because nothing is happening, there is this frustration with it. The dream I had 2 nights ago, it was to do with, long story short, I did a sort of illegal turn in a road. The security guard came out. He said he wasn't going to punish me as such, but he has a job for me. And that job was, as I worked like at an attendant at a crematorium. He said, President Trump will be coming in to choose his coffin, and I need to kind of like just be of service to him. President Trump did come in with a security team, and I felt the weight of their presence. And there's some other things that went on in there, but somehow I know this is also important and significant, not just because it's President Trump. I'm not thinking that for him necessarily so. But the experience I had this morning was what I would like help with during this session, as well as asking the Lord to help with dream interpretation. I woke up this morning where I feel as though I had had sexual intercourse. And that feeling you get at the end of that was what I woke up feeling. And I was monitoring my emotions and how I was feeling throughout the day. And I felt I was feeling quite tired, even though I know I slept quite well last night. And I have to say, sisters, it is not the first time. And it's like the Lord is showing me that certain things are being sealed in the spiritual realm through spiritual sex, because they have gone back to my bloodline. And one of the things of reinforcing that covenant in my bloodline to ensure that I do not escape and to be able to fulfill what God has given me, they come in through my dream. But I also have to say, I gave them access, because last night, half asleep, half awake, I watched a program come to the end of a program called Temptation Island. And there are a couple of scenes in there, which is like I had to fast forward. So I know that was like an opening to that as well.
So, what is your question concerning that you just experienced? Because it
So
seems
it is
like
not
you
the
understand it quite well, actually.
so it's not the first time I have dreamt about either being held as a prostitute or like a sex slave, but there was no act within it. But I know other times I have woken up feeling as though that has happened, even though I didn't experience it in the dream realm.
Mhm.
So that I would like prayer for in terms of why these things keep happening to me.
Gotcha.
And secondly, I would need help in terms of where do I go from here with regards to dream interpretation, because they are so frequent in my life,
Okay.
as well as visions.
Um, well, I would like to give my opinion, okay? And this is an opinion, and it is probably not a common opinion. I know a lot of people that work with dream interpretation and all of that stuff, and there are books you can get and all of these things that have this means this. I have never ever felt led to do that, to use those sort of books. They're interesting, they're quite interesting, but it's not always accurate. Um, what the Lord has shown me is that, so this is what I do. Um, First of all, I don't really understand why, and it could just be me. Um, Probably is just me. I don't know. But when someone types out or writes out a dream and then has me read it, I almost never get revelation about it. But if someone speaks it to me, I start to see and I start to understand. Now, I don't think I have some special gifting for dreams. I think that I kind of do have a special gifting for knowing the meaning in things in general. Like it's like the Lord shows me what things are about all the time. And so for me, it's just receiving the revelation just like I would in any other circumstance. So it's no different when you're giving me or giving, like when you were talking about even the parasite thing, the tapeworms. Um, the Lord was showing me that actually it's not allegorical. Um, it is, you have a special mandate to help take out parasites that have come in the spirit for people. Okay, so one of the things I learned this a few years ago when I actually was attacked by it, but um, there are demonic things that can attach as parasites, and they do it both in the spirit and in the natural. So they do it through the spirit first to then place them in the natural in your body. Okay. And it's very, I'm sure you can just get them in the natural and them not be in the spirit as well. Okay. But I'm saying that you can get this in the spirit. When this happened to me, Yeshua could do all of the cleansing in the spirit to get them out of me, but not in the natural. And he told me I needed to get rid of them in the natural, which was very surprising to me because I was like, I mean, you can do anything. Why can't you just get rid of those two? That's actually what I asked him, you know? And so he told me what I needed to do and all of that. But when you were talking about that tapeworm, I could feel it and I could see that it was a real, I think it's in the spirit and the natural for you that somehow you can help people get rid of them. So you might start with yourself. I don't know if you have this in yourself. I didn't get that out of the dream. I don't know. Maybe you do, but that wasn't what I received. But you might start with yourself and see if there's anything like that, and then do that. Because actually, as you were speaking, I realized I've been dealing with this. Um, I didn't realize it was a parasite until actually you were talking about it. But I I don't know if I've told you this before, but I feel what other people feel. So I'm like super highly empathic to where physically I feel what they feel when I'm tapping into them. Okay. And when I say tapping in, I'm really just entering into oneness with them. But that's what I'm doing. I feel what they feel. And I know the feeling of parasites because my son has dealt a lot with tapeworms in his legs, which is really interesting because before that, I didn't even know that was possible. I thought they were just a gut thing. And he dealt with them in his legs for years, actually. And we didn't know that's what it was until actually, this is weird. Um, we had an EMF. I still do have it, but it's this EMF. I don't know what it's called, but like it measures the electromagnetic frequencies, right? And so it's a device that you just use like around your Wi-Fi or TV or something, right, to measure these things. Well, I was with Soren. Soren is my son, and we were measuring stuff all around the house just for the fun of it, just to see like, oh, we should avoid this. Oh, we should move this, that sort of thing. And every time I would put it near his legs, it would go off. It like beeps real, it's like beep, 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 sort of thing when it gets really high. And I was like, what is happening? And so he would hold it, it'd be fine. But if it went by his legs, it would go off. And I'm like, this does not make sense. What is happening? And then about a week later, we went to, we have a natural doctor we go to here in Wichita. And he tested his body and found in his legs, which he has always had this terrible pain in his legs, it found that he had tapeworms in his legs. And I was like, that's weird because when we use this EMF thing, it picked that up somehow. And he said, oh yeah, it's because parasites, they grab metals and they carry the heavy metals around in your body. So it's picking up the metals. That's what, and I was like, that's really interesting. And so anyway, because of that, I learned what tapeworms felt like what they feel like, because I'm feeling what Soren's feeling. And I started realizing, oh, this is what it is. And when I would pick it up in somebody, I would say, hey, let's go get you tested and see if you have parasites here, because I'm feeling it here. And sure enough, every time it was like that. And so, anyway, this is way too long of a story. I'm sorry. I have been feeling this in my arm recently. And it's been really bothering me. I've been having like such irritation with this pain, and I don't know why it didn't click until you started talking about that dream that that's what this feels like. I think I have a parasite here in my arm. And so I think you're supposed to take it out, Pearl. I I know it sounds very strange, but I think you are. So if you would engage over me, and you don't have to do it right now, but at some point, engage over me and my arm to remove this parasite and see if you get any revelation of anything, concerning it as well. But I think it's a mandate that you have, not just with me, but in general. That's what I was feeling when you were talking about the dream. So for me, what happens is I am just open to kind of experiencing what people are talking about. I actually did some kind of experimentation with my now ex-husband. But when I first started engaging in the heavenly realms, I realized somehow when people would be talking about their dreams, I would be seeing it like um, I was experiencing it. And it's just like when I engage in heaven. It's like in my imagination sort of thing, in my mind's eye. And so Dustin and I did an experiment. He's one who dreams all the time, kind of like you. just constant every night, lots of dreams. I'm the opposite. I dream very rarely. At least I don't know that I'm dreaming or remember it. Um, and so for me, I always used to get really annoyed at his dreams. He would constantly be telling me his dreams. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go again. And and the Lord kind of got onto me that it's how he spoke to him and it's how he experienced him best, and I shouldn't be annoyed with it. And Dustin one time was telling me about this, and I just said, hey, can we do this experiment? I really think that I'm seeing what your dream is. And I said, can we just do this? And so he decided to leave out certain details when he was telling me about the dream to see if I picked up on what it was. And sure enough, it worked exactly. He would tell me, oh, we walked into this bathroom and here's what we did. And then after the whole dream was over, he said, okay, so what did the bathroom look like? And I'd be like, oh, it was kind of, I just pictured it kind of like this, I don't know, 1970s ish bathroom with kind of this pink tile, and whatever. And he's like, that's exactly what it was. Okay. Now, this guy who came up to me, what color shirt did he have on? And I was like, I guess I pictured him with a red shirt on. And he said, yeah, he had a red shirt. And so, anyway, we went through this and I started realizing it was really revelation I was getting. It, as he was telling me the dream, I was receiving the revelation and experiencing it as if I was him. And so I don't think I'm special in this. I think this is something we all can do if we aren't already maybe doing it and not knowing it. I don't know. Like, I don't think I knew I was doing that. It was just something that happened. But what I've realized is if we are always open to receiving revelation, then we can always receive revelation. And so this is kind of like when people ask me questions, I am always open to receiving the revelation for what the answer is. I don't always know the answer, but I can almost always get the answer because I just ask. And so I believe that we can do this with dreams. It There might be certain things that are allegorical, and there might be other things that this is actual reality that the Lord's trying to show you. And then, like for instance, you were talking about Trump, and I'm just going to say that someone else wrote privately, since it was private, I'm not going to say who it was just in case, but she said, that's odd. I've been getting the sense that Trump is going to transition soon as well. And so it's possible you are getting certain revelation through that dream that you are receiving. It could also mean that you have a certain mandate for even engaging and praying over him. You especially felt that security detail for some reason. And so there's something that's special about that. There are things we can all even ask, hey, what does this mean? Is there anything, Lord, that you want to share through this? But I don't know that there's a whole lot of special teaching that you need to be able to do this. But I do think we need each other. So it is much easier for someone else to receive revelation on your dreams than yourself. I'm not really sure why, but if I share something, you will likely receive revelation on it instead of me. And I will likely receive revelation on yours instead of you. So people say to write these things down. My recommendation would be to make a voice note. Okay. Because it's the same thing, basically. It's just your voice note tells the story. And at least for me, I can receive it when I'm listening to it, then I can receive the revelation. Whereas when it's written, I don't know why I can't. So it could just be me, like I said. But if you can make a voice note of it, it will also be quicker than writing when you're just waking up and you're slow and, So if you just make a quick voice note of what your dream is, you'll probably remember a lot more of it too. So, anyone else have anything to add on that?
I was thinking about when Pearl's talking about like she um feels like she is having like sexual encounters somewhere.
Yeah.
I felt like number one, like don't guilt yourself, saying that you are the one that opened that door, because I think that it is um I, this is the sense that I'm getting, because I got it last time when you talked about it, was that at some point you're time traveling. And um and it's just, I feel like you have to protect yourself at night when you go to sleep. Christine has always showed me how to like protect myself, because I've had those type of dreams. And in one of those dreams where I was being sexually abused, I was actually in the Temple of Solomon. And so I think that something is going on with you, that you need to ask the Father to show you, am I time traveling? Is this something that happened in my in the ancient days, something that happened to me, that I'm having memories of this? Because I mean, that's just the sense that I'm getting. Like I said last time when you talked about it, and this time too, that at some point it's time travel is going on in there. And that, I mean, that's just it that I had.
I was hesitating to tell you this, but I feel like maybe it's something you can ask the Lord about. Um, he showed me quite a long time ago that it was actually around this scripture that I didn't understand. It talked about, it was somewhere in the New Testament. I can't remember where it is right now, unfortunately, but it talked about how women should cover their heads because angels are tempted by them. And I was like, not getting it. Like, that does not make sense. What? And the Lord ended up showing me that there are angels, good and bad, who are tempted by hair, which is very strange to me. But they're actually tempted by our hair. And when we cover our heads at night, it will protect us from these especially bad, like, the incubus and succubus and all of that, those demons that are fallen angels. Basically, I shouldn't say demons, they are fallen angels who are trying to sexually overcome us. Okay. And so that if we cover our heads at night, which especially, I mean, I just commend all of you Black people, because pretty much all Black people I know wear bonnets or something to sleep because of your hair. And so it's very helpful. Um, White people don't do that for some reason, not very often. And so my daughter does because she has curly hair, but most people don't. And so it's weird for us white people to even think of putting something on our head at night. But especially the Lord said it's important for those who are struggling with sexual encounters at night like that to make sure you wear a head covering at night. So that is something that he told me a long time ago. So I would ask the Lord if this is helpful for you at all, but um, it might be.
I did. The Lord had said to me like last year that when I'm in church, I need to cover my head as a sign of honor to Him.
Mhm.
If I honor Him, He will honor me. So that's the only time. I'm the only person in church who wears a head covering, and it's like I can't. The like 99% of people are like white in my church, and I can't stick out any more from my coloring in my hair. And then with it covering over and under my neck and back again, it's like, there you
That's
go.
fun.
So,
Okay, so I have a random question. Why do you wear a head covering to your church, but you don't wear it here? Aren't we church?
well, I did ask him, well, I can't, that ran through my head at some point. Like, Lord, how about when I'm studying the Bible, or when I'm kind of like, doing other things? But maybe I don't want to hear the answer to that.
I have these little scarves that I do sometimes when I'm praying. The Lord has me do that. It's just random for me. It's never every time or anything, but I do that. And so I don't think it's that weird. I don't make a whole like head covering, what are they called? Habibs or whatever. I don't ever do that, but I just kind of put it over the top. But anyway, it's okay. Um, okay, I see. Um, Fair said some are just naturally attracted to us as well. It may be a personality trait or they feel like they're connected to you. Excuse me. Um,
Yeah, I was speaking in regards to angels. Um, I've had some weird experiences over the past couple of years, and I've been able to just sense in the spirit. And I noticed that it felt like something was trying to touch my face, but not in the physical, in the spirit. And it was just a spirit that was wanted to connect, and that's a negative. That's a no go over here. But they do, they do have angels and so forth. They have personality, consciousness like us that are connecting or attracted to certain people and personality styles and all of that. They can admire you and your abilities and even your walk in the Lord. And so they'll want to connect. So just be aware of that. But you can't talk about this in a regular church. They'll think you're crazy.
I mean, that's true, but it is true. I mean, I've even seen, um, oddly, I've seen demons that are in love with their hosts and it's not as I'm just here to torture you as you think. Sometimes it's they don't want to leave because they're in love and they're like smitten and don't want you to leave them and all of this. It's interesting, but we don't think of them, we just think of them as for the Lord and against the Lord, but not like they have different personalities, but they really do. They all have such very unique personalities. Truth is stranger than fiction. Boy, I have found that to be true. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a whole lot more we could speak on for all of this stuff, but I hope that's helpful in some parts at least.
Can I add one little thing, and
Of
I'm going to
course.
let it go. So, currently, you were talking about the parasites. That is a huge thing. As Christine said, that the enemy will send parasites through whatever gate or opening that they feel is open or vulnerable for them. And then they can send spirits, whatever, infection, all of that, so that your gifting will really help us. So that's all.
It's
so
true.
then very quickly, it makes me wonder whether that pain that came out of nowhere last week, whether that has something to do with it.
It's interesting. Very possible. Where were you feeling the pain?
In my left upper thigh.
And you happen to see the parasite coming out. I saw it coming out of your left leg upper thigh when that first one you were talking about. You said
Okay.
I don't know if that's what you saw, but that's what
No, I said it was in my lower leg below my knees on both legs.
I saw it coming out through your upper thigh. So it's like it was pulling and pulling when I saw that. And it was your left leg first and then your right, is what I saw.
The pain was in my left
Hmm.
upper thigh.
Interesting. Well, maybe it is that. So maybe I was right to say you should focus on yourself first. I really felt like that was from the Lord. Um, so yeah, I would ask about that.
I mean, ask about whether or not it is what you
A
say,
I would
a
say ask
mandate
if
to
it's a
take out.
parasite. I would say ask if it's a parasite that you have there and if you can take it out, what you need to do, because this is probably going to be, um, since I've seen that they are both in the spirit and in the physical, you'll probably need to ask, what do I do first? You know, I just ask Yeshua to help assist you with everything and, you know, do that because he'll lead you the whole way. Yeah. Cool. Well, any other random questions, you guys, before I get into some teaching? Oh, Amanda said, my legs were in a lot of pain when we first started and I was tired. That's why I went to sleep. I'm sorry, your
Yeah,
legs.
when I entered the classroom, I was like extremely tired. And like it was really like chill in there. And I was like, well, why is it so chill? It was like this last week. And then I just went to sleep. But I was gonna tell you about the encounter of the angel for my new office,
Uh-huh.
because we were in the middle of moving into our new office and we were having so many issues. Our computers weren't working. Our offices got flooded and all that kind of stuff. So I started engaging with the to see if there was an angel there that would engage with me. And this angel did not want to engage with me. And he was like very skeptical of me.
Mhm.
And then when you started, I was like, well, is he not, you know, working with the Father? What's going on with this angel? And then you guys started talking about the different personalities, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense why he didn't want to engage with me because he didn't know who I was, and he was just like, I don't know about you, and so when I got there, like I tried to engage with him, but he was like not really receptive, but he observed me and he was just like observing me all day. But I did engage with the elevators there. And there's two elevators and I don't know their names yet, but just and I engage with them because they're the ones that take me up and down. And so, and just really trying to engage with anybody or any other beings that were there. And but like I said, that angel, he was kind of skeptical at first, and he did tell another angel that he was didn't want to talk to me because he didn't know who I was at first. So um I'm just I'll try to engage with him every time that I go there just to get a relationship with him
Yeah,
until, things work out for us.
that's cool.
But yeah, that was what my encounter for the week.
That's cool. Hey, I do want to tell you, Amanda, this is a little random, but the pain you were feeling when we
Yeah.
first started, that wasn't a parasite, that was nerve pain. Um,
Okay.
and Karen, I saw that you said you had pain in your left upper thigh yesterday that was really random. I'm not feeling like there's anything there anymore at all. And so I don't actually know what it was, but it doesn't seem like any problem now. So that's just my whatever the Lord was showing me. So I don't know if anyone else has something. Myrna, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Um, I don't know if it's connected to these things, but talking about dreams and that, I feel like while I was actually watching something on in Christian, and I feel like I'm actually stuck somewhere. Um, like the Lord um, said to me, um, it feels like um, somebody paid money for me to be safe, like to saints and things like that. Um, and um, and I don't know if that makes sense or you know,
Can you say that
and
again? That they paid for you to what?
to be safe. Like,
Oh,
and the
okay.
Lord reminded me that my mum usually used to pay money for all of us to be safe, like to saints and things like that. And I
Um,
thought, and I'm struggling with something like he's talking about, you know, how um um you were talking about sex things or something to do with sex or sexuality or something like that. And I feel uh, I felt actually that one as well too in while she was talking, and then the Lord reminded me of these things and what he like these thoughts. Um, and with the dreams, like I feel I encounter some dreams with sex and other things like touching me or things like that in a dream. And I was wondering, does it got to do, you know, does it link with anything or because I've been asking the Lord, why am I like sort of I feel like I'm stuck. I wanted to go with him somewhere. I wanted to do something, but I don't feel, you know, that I can move from that point, from that guilt, from that whatever it is on me or, you know, I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah. Well, I do know, even what Pearl was saying earlier is she was talking about how she felt like it was kind of sealing covenants and stuff in her bloodline, right? Um,
Yeah.
Pretty much any kind of sex it is like establishing a covenant. That's what it is. And so
Mm,
if you are having anything like that, it is. And so even if you've had other sexual partners or anything like that, um, by accident you have sealed covenants with them. And so
mm,
you basically have sealed covenants with their bloodline. Um, and so
wow.
it's interesting. We have to think about what that means. And especially if it's coming to you in dreams, then there is something either in your blood or a spirit that's trying to attach or whatever that is trying to basically seal a covenant. So
Yeah.
that's why it is important if you do feel that. I would always go back and ask the Lord about if there is a covenant that he can show that needs a divorce, because you can get a divorce decree in the courts of heaven. And that's something that I would do anyway. I would ask if I can get that from whatever was trying to create covenants with me, unless it was something that was from him, of course. Um, and I would also be sure that you aren't jumping to conclusions and just thinking it's only demonic. It could be something that is from him. It's just likely he will be, you'll understand it. Um, but just to ask him for sure, that would be the best thing is to ask him and see if you need to get a divorce decree from any of these things that have happened. Amanda, go ahead.
So there's something that wanted to share. I wanted to share this last week too. We talked about this. But whenever a woman and a man have intercourse in the natural, if you're not, if they're not having protected sex, the sperm will latch itself into the cervix and it will stay there anywhere from 10 to 20 years.
Yep.
And so, you know, it's full of DNA, RNA. So you could be also experiencing from that DNA that's been inserted into you as well.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And there's a lot to other people's bloodlines. I mean, this is the one thing I really believe. You know how the Lord, um, in the Bible, it gives us commands, if you will, to basically make sure that you have one husband. Even husbands can have multiple wives, but one husband. And this is something it talks about, not having, sex outside of marriage and stuff like that. They do allow remarriages and stuff, but you know what I'm saying. That there's something, don't have sex before you're married, don't have sex with another person's husband, that sort of thing. Um, I really don't believe the Lord is saying, hey, don't have fun. He's saying, hey, this is going to protect you because this is a big deal. I think that we have not realized the DNA impact that that has on us, the bloodline problems that that brings to our life. All of a sudden, these spirits that attach because of the other person and their bloodline. And so it's just wisdom to try to keep yourself from that. And if you have gone through it, to do some cleansing, just to ask him to help cleanse you from all of that. There's no condemnation in it. Just ask him, I need the cleansing. I need to divorce make any divorce from covenants that you have made by accident, or that even others have made for you. Because I mean, goodness, 1 out of 4 women have been raped. And so it's also with that. I mean, we have to understand that when that happens, we have to deal with that. I mean, it sucks, but it's part of our own inner healing. We have to deal with that stuff. And we have to go and say, hey, this is what is there attached to me that was from this? So, okay. Am I missing anything? Oh, Lisa said she's been having heel pain. I'm just focusing for a second. You guys can do the same thing. If you guys get words for other people about it, I am not the end all be all. So, um, if you get something, what'd you say, Lisa?
I just come across something that was talking about what different areas of your body, things that held, and it just came up today for some reason, and it says heal. This is what this it's like a meme. It's saying self judgment. I was like, oh,
Interesting.
I've been having, and which is not normal for me. I don't have the only thing that I've had, and even when Pearl was talking about the dreams, I had a dream where there was a vial where, and I knew that they had injected something into me, and it was like hormones. And I remember talking about leukemia, and I was like, I don't have any of that stuff. So I don't know exactly what took place then, but I knew that I blew up. And it's like, it's, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, with the heel, when people started talking about the different pains they had, that's the only thing that I've had, which is unusual because when I'm walking up the steps, I'm ever so careful because I don't want to fall down the steps, but I can't put a lot of weight on my heel, and that's not normally an issue for me.
That's interesting. So, have you felt any kind of self guilt?
The weight, oh yeah, I've never been this heavy in my life, and it's horrible. I feel the weight. I feel it. I feel like I'm carrying it around.
Yeah.
Not to mention just the self image. It's like it's just horrible. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you already recognize that, then you ought to deal with the Lord with that. um,
Well, I don't know that that's the heel part.
it could
That's
be. I mean, I have no idea
know.
either.
Okay.
The best thing I would say, these things are very helpful when we get these things, because I know that there are different people who think that every different illness or pain is attached to certain things. And I think there is some truth to that. I'm not saying that it's all exactly that, but I think there's a lot of truth to some of that stuff. And so if you do get a word like that, like I know autoimmune disease often is caused by this kind of self-hatred or self-condemnation sort of stuff. And so, and it makes sense because your body is fighting itself. That's what an autoimmune disease is, right? And so that's when our soul is doing that, then our body comes in line with it. And so that's kind of what happens with a lot of disease. I don't think that all disease, this is me personally, okay, you can disagree, but I don't believe that all disease is caused by soul stuff and sin. I think that there is a lot that is. We have a lot of trapped emotions and things in our body where our body deals with stuff that our soul deals with. But I don't think all of it is. There are some things that are bloodline things. There's other things that come by injury. You know, you can stub your toe and your toe hurts, and it's not because you hate yourself. It's because you stubbed your toe. You know what I mean? And so that's just my personal belief on that stuff. I think sometimes, in a way, I know here I am teaching a spiritual class, but I do think we have a tendency to over spiritualize everything sometimes and not recognize that there are natural laws as well. And so there really are natural things. If you know, eat something, if you eat poison, you're probably going to get poisoned. I mean, there obviously we can try to undo all of the natural things through the Lord. That's possible, but we do have natural consequences for things that we do in the natural. So I would like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
The other thing for Pearl, the first thing that came to mind for me was a spirit spouse, which couldn't be bloodline.
Yeah.
Very well could be bloodline, but it definitely, spirit spouse was the first thing.
Truth.
And there can be more than one. There can be more than one.
That thought did come to me, Lisa. Unfair.
Probably more than one.
That thought did come to me.
Okay. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to switch gears and really get into what the Lord was wanting me to teach about today. And I think, what did you say?
We're only an hour in.
I know, only an hour in. It's okay. I mean, the truth is I usually do teaching and then Q&A, so it's okay to do Q&A first, right? Right? Okay. Anyway, so I want to, today we're going to talk about this slave and orphan spirit, okay? And when I say spirit, a lot of it comes through a certain mentality that we have trained ourselves in, that we accept that spirit to be at work in our lives instead of a spirit of sonship. I'm going to read a scripture to you, okay? And excuse me, I'm so sorry. I totally just burped. I was trying not to burp into the microphone and disgust all of you. At least there's no smelling over the internet. That's good. I'm glad you're laughing at me. That's what I hope for. Okay, so I'm going to read the scripture to you. You're welcome to look it up if you want, but I'm going to read it from the Voice translation. So it might kind of mess you up if you try to follow along. I would love if you would just soak it in. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So I'm going to be reading from Ephesians chapter 1. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I love Ephesians when it comes to heavenly things. Ephesians chapter 1, and this is verses 3 through 14 from the Voice. Blessed be God, the Father of our Lord Jesus, the Anointed One, who grants us every spiritual blessing in these heavenly realms where we live in the anointed, not because of anything we've done, but because of what he has done for us. God chose us to be in a relationship with him even before he laid out plans for this world. He wanted us to live holy lives characterized by love, free from sin, and blameless before him. He destined us to be adopted as his children through the covenant Jesus, the anointed, inaugurated in his sacrificial life. This was his pleasure and his will for us. Ultimately, God is the one worthy of praise for showing us his grace. He is merciful and marvelous, freely giving us these gifts in his beloved. Visualize this: his blood freely flowing down from the cross, setting us free. We are forgiven for our sinful ways by the richness of his grace, which he has poured all over us. With all wisdom and insight, he has enlightened us to the great mystery at the center of his will. With immense pleasure, he laid out his intentions through Jesus, a plan that will climax when the time is right as he returns to create order and unity, both in heaven and on earth, when all things are brought together under the anointed's royal rule. In him we stand to inherit even more. As his heirs, we are predestined to play a key role in his unfolding purpose that is energizing everything to conform to his will. As a result, we, the first to place our hope in the Anointed One, will live in a way to bring him glory and praise. Because you too have heard the word of truth, the good news of your salvation, and because you believed in the one who is truth, your lives are marked with his seal. This is none other than the Holy Spirit, who has promised us the guarantee toward the inheritance we are to receive when he frees and rescues all who belong to him. To God be all praise and glory. So, I don't know if this is wonderful and beautiful to you as much as it is to me, but it's talking about our inheritance as sons and our role as sons. And so this is a
what chapter and verses did you read again,
that
Kristen?
was Ephesians chapter 1, verses 3 through 14. Yes. And so really what I want to go over today is how there is no condemnation in what we're going over, okay? But I want you to be honest with yourself. I'm really struggling with that. And then the next one, I really have that. I really feel that I'm good in the sonship, because we have strengths and we have weaknesses. If we can recognize both, we can start to undo the slave and orphan stuff and really step more fully into our sonship. When we step more fully into our sonship, then we start bringing about the plans of the Father into this earth. Because each of us were given a chance in this time. Here we are, 2025, or what, 5785, is that right? Anyway, here we are in this time, and we are here for a purpose to bring about the Father's will into the earth. We can do it or we can screw it up. Okay. That's just the truth. And I want to be one who fulfills my scroll that he has put before me. Will I do it perfectly? Probably not. But you know what? I will do my best. And the only way I can do my best is to live in my true identity, in being who he has meant for me to be, and recognizing my sonship and getting rid of all this self-condemnation. Okay, because we have a tendency to do that. So as I'm going to pull up this chart for you guys, I'm going to share it with you here, and then I'll put it later on in the WhatsApp group. Okay. But I'm going to share this chart with you, and it is a kind of a slave and orphan versus son chart. Okay. And I think it's really helpful. I go through this probably at least once a year to try to kind of look at where I'm at and remember, ooh, I still need help in that area. And then I can seek the Lord for healing in these certain areas. Okay. Hey, I was right. 5785. Okay. Thanks, Pearl. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. Okay, you guys see this, hopefully? All right. So, here's how it works. We're going to have a category in the middle, and it will show you what a heart of a slave or an orphan kind of the mindset is and how a heart of a son is. Okay. And so with the image of God, and think about how you are. And if you can, just kind of make a note if you have a way to write things down. Make a note of, this one I need help with. Maybe if I'll give this to you guys later, you can maybe print it out and circle it or circle it on a device. I don't care, but do whatever you need to do. Image of God. If you're a slave or an orphan, you see God as master. If you have a heart of a son, you see God as a loving father. For dependency, if you have a heart of a slave or an orphan, you are independent and self-reliant. If you have a heart of a son, you are interdependent and you acknowledge your need. Theology. If you have a heart of a slave or an orphan, you live by the love of law. If you have the heart of a son, you live by the law of love. Oh, hello. Sorry. Now, think about that for just a second. I used to be one who loved the law. And I don't think I saw a problem because I thought if I do the right thing, I will please the Lord. But what that was not really seeing the heart of the law, the law. And the law of love is that everything comes back to love. That everything is ruled by that. And that is something that is different in our theology. Because I can love the law if the law is love, but not if it is just about following rules. This is how we have a lot of Christians out there who condemn people all the time because they only are looking at the law and they are not looking at the law of love, right? This happens a lot in the church. And so it's just a very slight mindset shift that we have in these things. So security is the next one. Heart of slave or an orphan is insecure. You lack peace. If you have a heart of a son, you have rest and peace. Your need for approval. Slave or orphan, strive for the praise, approval, and acceptance of man. The heart of a son, totally accepted in God's love and justified by grace. This is something that took me a whole long time to overcome. I struggled so much when I was condemned by men. When man would say how horrible I am, how terrible my theology is, all of this, I would feel crushed instead of just knowing I was right in the Lord and that he's the one who justifies me, that it's not man. Motive for service. A heart of a slave or an orphan has a need for personal achievement as you seek to impress God and others, or no motivation to serve at all. A heart of a son has service that is motivated by a deep gratitude for being unconditionally loved and accepted by God. Motive behind Christian disciplines. Heart of a slave or an orphan, duty and earning God's favor, or no motivation at all. So that's like fasting, praying, reading your Bible, whatever it is. Okay. You do it because you feel like you should, duty, or by, I won't be in God's favor if I don't do these things. Or maybe you don't want to do them at all just because you're not motivated. Heart of a son has pleasure and delight in doing these things. It's something that drives you because you love it. A motive for purity. Quote, must be holy to have God's favor, thus increasing a sense of shame and guilt. Or, heart of a son, you want to be holy and do not want anything to hinder intimate relationship with God. Okay. The next is self-image. Slave or orphan, self-rejection from comparing yourself to others. And heart of a son, positive and affirmed because you know you have such value to God. The next category is a source of comfort. A slave or an orphan seeks comfort in counterfeit affections, addictions, compulsions, escapism, busyness, hyper-religious activity. The heart of a son seeks times of quietness and solitude to rest in the Father's presence and love. Peer relationships. Slave or an orphan, competition, rivalry, and jealousy towards others' success and position. And then heart of a son has humility and unity as you value others and are able to rejoice in their blessings and success. And then this next category is handling others' faults. Slave or an orphan, accusation and exposure in order to make yourself look good by making others look bad. Or heart of a son, love covers as you seek to restore others in a spirit of love and gentleness. The next is your view of authority. A slave or an orphan sees authority as a source of pain, distrustful toward them, and lack a heart attitude of submission. A heart of a son is respectful and honoring. You see them as ministers of God for good in your life. And then the next is your view of admonition. Boy, I don't know why I struggled with that word today. Heart of a slave or an orphan, difficulty receiving admonition. You must be right so you easily get your feelings hurt and close your spirit to discipline. Heart of a son sees the receiving of admonition as a blessing and need in your life so that your faults and weaknesses are exposed and put to death. Okay. The next is your expression of love. Slave or an orphan is guarded and conditional, based upon others' performance as you seek to get your own needs met. Heart of a son is open, patient, and affectionate as you lay your life and agendas down in order to meet the needs of others. Your sense of God's presence. A slave or orphan is conditional and distant. And then a heart of a son senses God's presence as close and intimate. Condition. Heart of a slave or orphan is in bondage. Heart of a son has liberty. Your next is position. A slave or an orphan feels like a slave or a servant. If you have a heart of a son, you feel like a son or a daughter. Your vision. A slave or an orphan has spiritual ambition, the earnest desire for some spiritual achievement and distinction, and the willingness to strive for it, a desire to be seen and counted among the mature. A heart of a son is to daily experience the Father's unconditional love and acceptance, and then be sent as a representative of his love to family and others. And your choice. A heart of a slave or an orphan has no choice. A heart of a son has free will. And then this next category is future. A heart of a slave or an orphan says, fight for what you can get. A heart of a son says, sonship releases your inheritance. I think that's a powerful distinction. Okay. And then this is the last one. This category is the response to pain. A slave runs from pain, seeks to avoid problems, sees the cost of failure. A son embraces pain strategically, sees opportunities in problems, and sees the benefit of failure. That is so cool. Okay, I just have to share with you. There's something I say all the time in my mind and to others. I'm like, we fail forward. I always love thinking of failure as something to move us into our next season and something that helps us move forward. That's cool. It's wonderful when you say, hey, I think I got that one. Okay. Anyway, the perspective on work. A slave obeys orders and looks at the right way to do a job and considers consequences. A son solves problems, looks for a better way to do a job, and sees possibilities. And then the use of resource. A slave sees the cost, wants to receive from those who have, and cares for himself. A son sees value and wants to know how they got there, understands social responsibility. The nature of their relationships. A slave talks about self, expects more from others than from self, extends honor upwards. A son talks about his team, personally raises the bar, extends honor downward. The view of the future. A slave looks for immediate gain, seeks comfort, and wants to be liked now. A son sows into the future, seeks fulfillment, will let history be his judge. And then this next category, the exercise of power. A slave is disloyal when he succeeds, gives favors, seeks supernatural for self. A son initiates sharing success, shows favor, uses the supernatural for others. Okay. So, did you guys get anything out of that? Hopefully something.
In regards to a son, what I sense coming from what you're saying throughout is just liberty. Like you don't have to stress or strive or worry. Is that position that you find yourself in as a child of God, and is the feeling of knowing that it's all mine. So I don't need to stress. I don't need to worry. I don't need to be in competition. I don't need to strive for this. That is the kind of mindset and position of a son that I have.
Yeah.
However, there are a couple that I do not understand, but I'll just give one as an example, where the nature of their relationships, which is the last page.
Okay. Do you have something in particular, or what
Yeah. Yes, it mentions about honor, extends honor upwards. What does that mean? And as for a son, extends honor downwards. What does that mean?
Okay, so it's like this. Have you ever known someone who, okay, so I can think of, all right, I'm going to use an example. In Mary Kay, you guys know I do Mary Kay. I don't know if you know what Mary Kay is, but it's a skincare cosmetics company, right? And one of the things in Mary Kay is I have a director. Okay. The director helps our whole unit. All right. Also, I have my own team. I have people on my team who I am supposed to help. If I direct honor upwards, then what I do is I'm constantly I'm seeking to honor myself for what I've done. And I oftentimes will kind of a little bit suck up to the people above me. Okay. You understand what I mean by saying that, right? And so if I extend honor downwards, what I do is I don't take credit for things as I give the credit to my team, because I know I'm not going to succeed without my awesome team. And so I'm going to honor those below me so that they feel lifted up. And one of the things in the kingdom, one of the things about kingdom order is, I have said this a lot of times if you've ever heard me talk about kingdom order. In the earth, we have a top down mentality. Like, let's just talk about the church for a second. Okay. You have the pastor or apostle up at the top, and then you have everybody below, and everybody has to go to the pastor and give all the honor and glory to the pastor. And the pastor feels like he has all the responsibility and has to do everything too, by the way. And so it's not always a great thing. But this is a top down sort of thing that we do in the church a lot. How the kingdom is supposed to work is to be a reflection of how it is. And so we are supposed to be, so for me, I'm a minister, right? I'm supposed to be lifting those up around me. Those who I support, I'm supposed to be uplifting to see them succeed, instead of saying, you must serve me. I need this. Here, I'm the boss, which I admit I've done that before. Okay. So I do it sometimes. But what we're supposed to be doing is to lift up those around us and to have mutual honor, or honor that brings people into who they're supposed to be. And so, for instance, instead of like all of you each have really unique gifts. You've probably heard me say that a lot, but it's true. I can't do this by myself. I'm not going to be able to. You could all just come to me and I could only do private appointments, but that's silly because I'm not the guru here. The truth is, we have each very unique gifts and important in the body. And so I will honor your gifts and I will say, hey, you're not less than. You're not. And the truth is, you're really not. We're all equal. But what people who are in this slave and orphan mentality, they want to go, oh, Christine, oh, you're so wonderful. You are the only, everybody look at Christine. She's so great. Christine. And so then I will favor whoever's doing that to me. That's the whole point, that people do that so that they can be the favored one. Because they are honoring that. Now, it's interesting because, of course, we want to show respect and all of that to those who are serving us, right? And I think that people above us are usually serving us. That's the whole point of a leader. Not always are they serving other people, but generally that's a good leader serves. And so I want to be respectful and honoring of those who are above me. But more than that, I want to make sure that everyone below me knows that they are not less than, and that they are honored. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. All right. Any other questions on that chart? Is there anything that you immediately pulled out of it, like, oh, I do that, or, oh, I do that? Anything like that, you guys?
There was some things that I'm like, oh, I do half of that. So it's kind of like I'm
You're getting there.
doing one thing. I say like I'm working through it. I'm not transitioning through it,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to go back over it and just really sit down, take some time, and look at it, and just see where I'm still, on the other side, the
Mm-hmm.
slave and orphan side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
and
think, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and I definitely agree with you about the church. Saying, you know, I mean, because we're always wretched in the church. We're wretched beings in the church, according to a lot of it, and we start guilting and shaming ourselves for those things.
Mm-hmm. I think when we were going through this, I was really reminded of how I function sometimes with my health. I will get worried about my health. I will start being Well, let me just pull this up. I was thinking about the security part. A slave or an orphan is insecure and lacks peace, and a heart of a son has rest and peace. And I was thinking about, for me, I struggle sometimes with not being in peace over my health. Because I'm not seeing myself as a son who has the full inheritance of complete health. The truth is, I see myself as a beggar, or someone who's neglected, or something like that. And that's just the truth of how I look at myself sometimes when it comes to that. But then there are other things that I'm like, absolutely, I'm a son and I'm not a beggar. You know what I mean? It's so interesting how we do that in different areas of our lives. That we have certain things that we're totally secure in and other things that we're totally insecure in. I was talking to someone the other day, who the Lord is telling her that she is supposed to start speaking. And when she speaks, that she is not supposed to prepare, that the Lord is just going to give her the words. And she is freaking out about it, freaking out about this. I mean, very insecure and worried, no peace, all of that. It's interesting how certain things will trigger us and just throw us back into the orphan and slave mentality, right? Because like for that one, I'm not like that at all. I used to be. I totally used to be like that. But now I'm like, oh yeah, he shows up for me every time. I'm not worried. Never worry about that now, because I know he'll show up. I have full confidence that he'll show up. I feel like a son in that area. You know what I mean? But some people are not there yet. And we do this in different parts of our lives. If I have a giant bill that is coming and I don't have money in my bank account, there are times when I'm like, what am I going to do? I have to strive. I better work my tail off and make some money. And, I get into this orphan slave mentality where everything I have to work for, forgetting that I have the full inheritance and that I can rest in being provided for. I do that. I still do that sometimes. I'll be like, oh man, what can I do to make some money? And it's just this striving thing. And I recognized in myself, I have different areas that I excel in and different areas that I'm still struggling in. But if I don't recognize that I'm struggling there, I will continue to struggle. And so that's why I even brought up this chart. I think it's really helpful for us to do what you said, Amanda, spend some time chewing on each thing and going, okay, Lord, show me, am I good? Or am I really not recognizing my sonship here? Because the truth is, you are a son, whether you know it or not, right? You're a son, but are we functioning as a son? Are we living in our identity? In that scripture, it talked about the awesome inheritance that we have. And it kind of talked about the responsibility we have, but it was doing it in a way that was beautiful. It was a good responsibility. It was this, we get to show people the love of the Lord. Not we have to be perfect so that Jesus will come again. Okay. That's kind of what a lot of the church tends to make it out to be. Well, we better get our crap together. Otherwise, Jesus isn't going to come back, which is hilarious. But anyway, I think we have a great opportunity. Pearl, go ahead.
Did you say a moment ago, if we don't recognize we're struggling in an area, we'll be stuck there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I really believe that this is something that all of you who are in this class are ones who are seeking for your healing, right? I'm just guessing. If you're paying money to come and learn about healing, you're either seeking for your healing or you're seeking to help others heal, right? I'm doing both. I don't know about you, but probably all of you are doing at least one. Otherwise, you just like me. I don't know. I don't know, but probably you're committed to that. If you're committed to that, then what you're doing is you are seeking for, where am I operating in lack and how do I fix it? Okay. That's probably what you're doing, right? And the whole point of going over these things is saying, where am I off? Where am I missing the mark here? And it's not something that is for condemnation. It is so that we go back to the tree of life and we are redirected to where we're supposed to go. Because we already have the full inheritance. We just aren't operating in the full inheritance. It's kind of like having this room full of treasure and being in the other room going, crap, I don't have anything in my bank account. And we forget that right next door, we have this full room of treasure. And so this is what we're doing. We do it in every area of our life, not every area, but a lot of areas of our life. We go and we operate as if we don't have everything already, but we do. We are fully sons. There is no lack. There is no, oh, we're not there yet, actually. The truth is, we have it all. We need to access it all. And we have to know we need to access it in order to access it. Because if I don't recognize that I'm functioning outside of that, then, I mean, I'll just keep functioning outside of that, right? Because I want to know where I'm lacking so I can go and turn back to the Lord and get my full inheritance and be who I'm supposed to be and operate in a way that is full of grace and love instead of striving and condemnation. I don't want to be that person that continues to live in sin. And when I say live in sin, I don't mean doing the wrong thing. I mean living in a way that is separated. I'm not separated from him in any way. There is no separation when we are in the love of God, right? And so if there's no separation, if we are no longer sinners, we shouldn't be acting like it. We shouldn't be having this mentality as of, oh, I messed up. I'm such a wretched sinner. You know, that stuff drives me crazy. Who was it, Amanda, who was saying that? You ever listen to the words of Amazing Grace? I don't know why I still love that song when it is stupid. I mean, I'm sorry, but what a wretch I am. How terrible. That is not true. That is not what the Lord says about me. That is not. Now, there is a was. I was a sinner, but now I'm fully covered in his grace from Yeshua, and I am no longer a sinner. It doesn't mean I don't, do something stupid sometimes. I do, but that isn't sin. Sin is a separation, and I'm no longer separated, right? Pearl, go ahead.
So does it mean then that it is our soul that is still within the slave orphan mentality? That's why we don't access what we have already been given? Or is it our hearts that is in that realm and we just need to get it into the spiritual realm so we can claim what we have been given?
So I believe our heart is a part of our soul.
Yes.
So to me, it would be both, I guess, would be true. I even think that there are parts of our body that are like that. And there are times when we can say, for instance, maybe you do something mean to me and I forgive you in my soul. But when you did this to me, I freaked out and I started feeling sick to my stomach and I wanted to vomit. And all of this just really hurt me. And my body felt it. Even though I've forgiven you in my soul, I haven't dealt with it in my body. So I might continue to have gastrointestinal problems because that emotion is still stuck there because I haven't ministered to my body in that way. And so there are times when our body is also feeling like an orphan or a slave.
How would you minister to your body then? Because as you're speaking, two things came to mind. First, when you talked about honoring, is like the Lord was showing me that I do not honor my husband. I do not respect him like I should. And it's like I do find it so hard, Lord. But can you give me an example of how you would deal with that in your body? Because I feel a lot of anxiety in my stomach.
Yeah.
How would I now deal with that?
Okay.
As it's done?
Here's what I do. So usually I will, okay, say it's in your stomach. You're already recognizing that, which is awesome, first of all. But recognizing it's in your stomach, what I would do is ask your stomach to speak to you about why. And so when you do that, you will probably have like a memory come up or something like that. And when you do that, you need to go, okay, so here's the problem. What do we need to solve this problem? So you have a memory of your husband. I don't know what he's done to you, but let's just pretend. Okay. I'm not accusing him in any way, by the way. We're pretending. Maybe he pushed you when he got angry. And so now you're fearful. Your body is fearful. So that memory comes up of when he pushed you. So then you want to go, okay, body, when he pushed you, what would you need? Who did you need to help you? And you might have Yeshua step in and put a blockage between you two, or maybe I wish my dad was there to help me. Okay, whatever it might be. What do you need? Maybe you just needed to be in a different room. And whatever it is, you just go with what that is and visualize that happening. And when that happens, I don't know if you guys understand what happens when we visualize things, but it's like we change the reality. And in your body, it will change the reality. You will have a different memory that happens then, and you'll see Yeshua stepping in and protecting you or whatever, right? You'll see something different happen. Your body will have then a different reaction, and it will start to come into healing because you're starting to deal with whatever is stuck there. So, and you might have lots of things stuck there. Okay. It might be like your husband has been terrible to you a million times. I don't know. But whatever it is, just ask your body to speak to you. So it could be that it's not, your stomach's not the only place. It might be that you have your knee starts hurting. And so then you're like, oh, right knee, I didn't know there was a problem here. What's going on? And ask your knee to speak. What are you feeling? And try to feel what emotion it is. Is it fear? Is it I mean, one time I was doing this and my ovary started hurting. Okay. I didn't even know what my ovary felt like, but it started hurting. And I was like, oh, what are you feeling? And my ovary said it felt neglected. And I was like, what have I done? You know? And so I dove into that. Like, what does this mean? How are you feeling? What have I done? How have I neglected you? And I started to feel this like feminine energy coming from that. It felt like a woman. And it was interesting when this happened. And I could tell that what happened is I was not allowing this to speak, because what I did is I got a tubal ligation. Okay, so I didn't know that that's what was making it not feel like it had a voice. Okay, of course it did. I didn't think of it, but I had a tubal ligation, couldn't have any more kids. Hormones are blocked. There are different things that happen. It's still there, but it's not feeling like it had a voice at all. I just listened to a doctor and did it. And so, anyway, I had to repent to it for not listening to it, not even asking. I didn't ask the Lord. I just did what a doctor told me I needed to do. And so for me, it had to do with ministering to my body and in like asking for forgiveness and trying to tell it that I loved it and that I care about it and I'm sorry and, that sort of thing. So it'll probably be different, whatever you do. I don't think it's a one size fits all sort of situation, but it's how you can start to minister to your body.
I love the example. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, Christine, when you were talking about that, I was like, golly, that's going to be a lot for my body. And then it, the memory of my accident, of, the accident that I had where I broke my leg. And it was like speaking to me and said, well, you were trying to please man and you went up on that ladder when you shouldn't have done that, because you were trying to please man and you were trying to get things done. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about all that. So I'm going to dive into that more.
Yeah. It's wild how our body holds some of these things and it won't come into its full healing because it still has those trapped emotions. And sometimes, there's another thing that I've done before. I've done it many times actually, but I allowed my body to take my soul to court in the heavenly realms and basically give the accusations it has against my soul for what I've done to it. And it was interesting. It was really interesting because things came up that I didn't remember or think of, and I thought, oh, this is how you felt when I got a tattoo. I am so sorry. It was like really offended and hurt big time. And it's really interesting. I did certain things not thinking of how it was affecting my body. And it wasn't just, it was like a million things, so many things. And it's really interesting. I mean, I had my body upset at me at how I ate. I had my body upset at me, for not thinking about what it was doing to, well, I had a real problem for years with pushing through pain and saying, shut up, you're fine, keep going. That's what I said that to my body a lot. Okay. I was kind of abusive to my body because and I don't know where I learned to do that, but I learned it from when I was pretty young. I started when I was in cheerleading and I had major knee problems, wrist problems. And I was like, suck it up, you're fine. And keep going, keep going. I went to physical therapy, but I kept abusing it all the time. And then it turned into a habit that I had throughout my life that once I had really bad nerve pain, I'm like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Just ignore the pain. And I wasn't allowing my body to have a voice. And when that happened, it really started not trusting my soul or my spirit at all. And I have had to go through lots of years of healing with my body to have it even begin to start trying to trust again. So anyway, these are things that could be helpful, and it probably could be a lot faster for you than it is for me. But for me, it's been a kind of a life of healing. I feel like I'm going through all sorts of healing in different ways all the time. But this is something I think, like all of you, the Lord has given me a passion for inner healing and just bringing all of me into oneness with Him. And I want my body, I want my soul, I want my spirit all to be one with Him and fully who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And I don't want to be stuck in these little loops of trauma my whole life. I just want to deal with them and move forward. And so, anyway, I really believe all of you are like this too. Okay, we have 7 more minutes until Kingdom Builders. Any questions before we end? I will put this slave and son thing this chart on our group page, and I would love for you to this week go through it. You can do it as brief or as long as you want, and just ask the Lord to show you where you're off and ask him to heal that part of you and see what you need to do. Go ahead, Lorato.
Hi, I just want to ask quickly. You mentioned something about our imaginations. So are you saying in our imaginations we can change the past and the future?
Absolutely. 100%. And there's science behind that, even without,
Okay.
you know, even outside of the spirit, although I believe it's absolutely a spirit thing. But when we do this, we can do it in our mind, but we also do it with our eyes. So, did you know that something doesn't actually materialize in the physical until it's observed? I could send you a video on it. It is fascinating. Scientifically, this is what they've found, that the atoms and everything don't actually come together until it's seen. I do not understand it at all, but it is amazing. And so what's really cool about this is what we see is what becomes. So if we can see things differently, it becomes differently, which is wild. Okay. This is just such an interesting way that the Lord has made things. But this is, we talk about the frequency and bringing things together. Energy is a real big deal. And we have power through all of our energy points. Our eyes are an energy point. Our minds are an energy point. We've talked about this, when we talked about the affirmations and stuff, when we talked about doing them from different energy hubs in our body, we create that way. That's how we create. And so I'm not saying that, okay, actually, I am saying this. If you imagine a life, say you imagine yourself getting into a red Lamborghini, and you do this over and over and over in your imagination, I guarantee you somehow that's going to manifest. And you can do this with good or bad things. Okay. So if you keep imagining that your life is going to suck, okay, excuse me. I hope you guys don't mind my strange language. Anyway, if you keep imagining that your life is going to be terrible, and that things are going to go badly, and you're probably not going to get that job, and you're probably going to not have money, and if you keep imagining these things, that's exactly what will happen. Because what happens is everything is attracted energy wise to us, whatever we think, feel, sense, all of that. And so we naturally will make it so. We have power to make these things happen, good or bad. And so we can be selfish about it. I wouldn't recommend that. But I do think what we need to do is make sure that we are changing things in the way that it is glorifying to the Lord and it's led by him. For me, I make sure and I ask, what am I supposed to be focusing on? What are these things that I'm supposed to be focusing on? And it's hard for me sometimes because I don't naturally visualize things well. That's not something that's easy for me. Some people are great at it. That's not been something that has been a strength of mine, but I practice and I have improved. And I know that the more it happens, the more my body comes in line with it. When I start to practice these things, it just changes. Everything starts to shift. My body starts to shift. My circumstances start to shift. I don't know how it is, but we do have a collective consciousness. I don't know if you know that, but we're all connected in the quantum realm. And so because of this, if I think, this is something that the Lord has had me do, I am wealthy. Wealth is attracted to me. The Lord made me start saying this because this isn't something that's natural for me. Okay. So he kept having me do this. Like, okay, this is something, money is attracted to me. All of this, me start saying that, I'm telling you, I get people sending me money when that happens. I am not asking anyone. I'm not asking them, and it starts pouring in. And it's like people get this vibe. I don't know how to say that, but either they sense it in the spirit or whatever, and they start sending me money. I do not get it, but that is something that happens with, and it's like the inheritance is mine. I'm understanding that that inheritance is mine when I didn't really believe it before. I mean, I wanted to believe it, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I have a tendency to do that. I will say, well, I want to believe that, but look around, you know? I used to argue with myself about it. I'd be like, money's attracted to me. And then I'm like, yeah, right. Okay, I don't see that happening. And so it's like I would try to believe it, but it just wasn't happening. And so for me, I have to embody all of these things anyway. Okay, Pearl said Annette Cap's book, Quantum Faith. That's interesting. Okay, you guys, I have 1 minute. Oh, look at that. She has it right there. That's cool. That sounds like something I want to read.
It's a tiny book.
Oh, that's even better.
Not even a book, a booklet.
Nice. Okay, I want to read it for sure. Okay, you guys, I have Kingdom Builders starting in 1 minute. You're welcome to join if you want. We're just going to engage in the heavenly realms together and have some fellowship. So I love you. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.